We've got a lot of stops to make. We're heading to the Canton Chronicle watch party. Check it out. Okay, guys, behave. Let's get inside and join this watch party.
Eric, we've got a great show for tonight. Let's get this watch party started.
John, I am so excited about tonight. I love watch parties. Eric, I'm gonna get this party started.
All right. Hey, everybody. We're only moments away from the select board meeting, and I'm just going to be letting it play, and hopefully everything goes well. So I'm going to watch along with you guys and see you guys maybe right at the end, okay? I'll be back. Yes, I got my shirt on. I ran out and grabbed a shirt real quick. No, I don't like talking over them. No commentary, iced coffee girl. Tuesdays is tough by the time I get home from the job that I don't have, according to everybody that's a McAlbert fan, a House Defendant fan, a Commonwealth Witness fan. Tuesdays is tough by the time I get home and walk the dog and get everything done. So, yeah, I'll be back. I'm going to let this play. Uh, 6 minutes to showtime. Dennis isn't allowed to go anymore. 3 minutes to the select board.
Yo, I was in the house, no doubt, no cap. Kicking with the fam, playing Who's the Rat. Might have said the porch or the basement couch, but wherever I was, yo, I was in the house. Yeah, I pulled up late with a natty in hand. Had my hoodie on tight like, yo, I got a plan. Was it 10, was it midnight, or a fever dream bounce? Don't ask too much, bruh, I was in the house. Was in the house, yeah, you know that's facts. Didn't leave no prints, just vibes and snacks. Forget the timeline, throw that out. All I know is Colin was in the house. They say, where'd you go, bro? Did you hop in a car? Like maybe with Caitlin to drop a girl off far? Nah, I just chilled, maybe petted a dog. Then I magically vanished like a Snapchat log. Said I came back down, 7:05. Then I changed my mind, yo, I meant 8 or 5. Don't sweat the switch up, or memory drops.
1 minute.
The one thing that's solid, I was in the house. He was in the house, even if the car's gone. He was in the house, even if the footage wrong. He was in the house, Jen Google from a phone. He was in the house, just leave the boy alone. I drove him there, then maybe picked him up. Timeline wild like Higgins in a duffel truck. Dropped some girls off, then looped back around. Got more alibis than stop signs in this town. Yo, no need for records or surveillance doubt. Just take it on faith that Colin was in the house. Yeah, shout out to Fairview CPD and the porch ghost. To every donut box timeline that somehow just vanished. Hit to every witness who can't recall. But sure as hell, one thing's for sure, folks.
I got 7 o'clock. It should be starting any moment.
All set. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Select Board meeting of Tuesday, April 14th, 2026, 7 p.m. at Memorial Hall, 801 Washington Street, Canton, in the Sala Meeting Room. Just a reminder, tonight's meeting is being recorded by Canton Community Television. Before we start tonight, I'd just like to give a warm welcome to our newest member here on the board, Julie Backham. Congratulations and welcome. Would you like to say anything to anybody before we start?
I'm really excited and honored to be here. So thank you. First meeting, let's go.
Excellent. Very good. First on the agenda is public comment. I'm going to read a statement before we start. Public comment of the meeting is an opportunity for listen to residents' feedbacks and concerns. However, it is not meant to be a question and answer format. There'll be no response to any public comment when presented. The public comment portion of the meeting is limited to 15 minutes total and up to 3 minutes per speaker. Those that wish to speak should stand at the microphone and wait to be recognized by the chair. Please state your name and town you live in. Your address is not required. I would ask all members of the audience be respectful of each speaker as well as each other. Anyone that does not wish to speak or unable to do so to the time limit may submit their comments in writing for the board's review and consideration. That being said, we'll start the public meeting comment at 7:01.
Brenda Sweeney, Canton, my opinion. According to the Galvin Middle School 2025 Youth Risk Behavior Survey, bullying increased from 27 to 32% between 2023 and 2025. People started asking questions in 2023 when a certain internet search was exposed and law enforcement lost control of the narrative. Is it any wonder bullying increased in the school in those 2 ensuing years? A very effective way to shut up parents, threaten their kids. Bullying, Canton's signature for decades. Last meeting, there was a pot calling the kettle black moment. A resident stood up, named 2 other citizens, and blamed them for causing all the problems in Canton because they asked a blogger for help asking questions about a murder. Things weren't adding up. We had an uneasy feeling in our gut, so we were searching for ways to find answers. The resident speaking tried to turn the tables, tried to make asking questions the bad thing instead of the murder. He talked about those 2 people reaching out to a blogger, said they knew public shaming of anyone they mentioned would follow, accused them of trying to destroy residents and businesses through public bullying. Yet there he was at the mic trying to publicly shame 2 people in the exact same way. The major difference? They were hoping to find answers to questions about a murder in Canton. He, on the other hand, simply wants to shut them up because some people in town don't want those questions answered. A second resident stated that being divisive in any way is terrible and harmful to all of us, implying if you're still asking questions, you don't care about Canton. Go ahead, do your thing and be hurtful along the way, she said. 2 different speeches, both trying to shut us up by implying those asking questions are the bad guys. Make no mistake, we love this town and there is 0 shame in asking for help to solve a murder. This is about the tragedy of John O'Keefe's death and the uneasy fear for our own safety that followed on its heels. Let's stop using the blogger as a distraction, hiding behind him to mask your own shame for knowing what happened, yet hiding that truth because it involves your friends. Basically, sanctioning murder under the guise of loyalty. That's a disgrace our little helpers have brought to Canton. John died by someone's hand in this town. It's time to recognize this bullying for what it is, a ploy to distract your attention away from the questions, cause you to look away, to stay silent. These bullies are hoping to circumvent justice by preying on your fears. What a burden that stigma would be for Canton to bear if we let those bullies succeed. We'd forever be known as the town that failed Boston Police Officer John O'Keefe, one of our very own citizens. Thank you.
Anybody else like to speak? Seeing none, we'll close the public comment period of the meeting, and we'll go on to the first of the agenda. Ms. Hamilton.
All right. I move that the board approve Deputy Police Chief of Administration Personal Service Contract for Michael Gifford Cruz.
Second.
Motion is made in second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Chair as well, 5-0. Next, we're going to Deputy Chief Cruz. Welcome to Canton. Glad to see you here this evening. Would you like to introduce who's with you tonight, please? Yeah, absolutely.
My daughter could be here. Unfortunately, she works in a restaurant industry right now, going through college, so she couldn't get the day off, so she's not here. That's my son Trevor, my son Chase, my partner Cesar, and my brother Jeff. And I have 15 other brothers and sisters, half brothers and sisters that we're all spread out. So that's why I brought here today. I'd like to thank them for everything they've done throughout my life to get me along on this journey along with the men and women of law enforcement, because I definitely wouldn't be here without their support. Even though they don't know me yet, there's a brotherhood, as you know, with the police officers, and I look forward to working with the town of Canton. And Chief Mike Daniels is a great mentor, and I owe a lot to him, and the things that we've grown through over the last few years, and I look forward to serving this town and the community. And I know you don't know me yet, but my biggest thing is I serve with empathy, with impact, and passion. Those 3 things, I believe in what we do. I don't do this for the money. I do it because I care for the community. And I think everybody here as police officers would say that we get into this business to help people, and that is 100%. That's all I'm for. I'm here at the end of the day to make sure that we all go home safely and that, we grow as people and leaders, because that's what we need in this profession is leadership.
Thank you, sir. Tracy, would you please swear in our new deputy?
Thank you. Would you please raise your right hand? Do you affirm that you will faithfully and impartially discharge and perform all the duties incumbent upon you as Deputy Police Chief of the Town of Canton, according to the best of your abilities and understanding, and agreeably to the rules and regulations of the Constitution and the laws of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts?
Thank you.
Congratulations. Welcome.
Congratulations.
Chief, would you like to add anything? Yeah. Please.
So Chief, just stand at a microphone. Yeah.
Please.
Sorry.
So first off, I just want to, number one, I want to thank obviously the community for your support, the board, your support. Everything's been going great at Canton PD. And Gifford Cruz is going to be a wonderful, wonderful addition to the police department. In Oxford, he helped me architect some of the things that I think we need here. And I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a good partnership. I think we're all going to get along just fine. So I appreciate it, and thank you all.
Thank you, Chief.
Very good.
Congratulations. Good luck.
Thank you.
Okay. Next up, notice is hereby given under Chapter 140, subsection 57, 58, and 59 of the Mass General Laws that the Canton Select Board, acting as the licensing board for the town of Canton, will hold a public hearing regarding the application for a Class II auto dealer's license for Urban Auto Group LLC, DBA Urban Motors, 1033 Turnpike Street, Canton, Mass. 02021. In connection with this application, the Canton Select Board will hold a public hearing in the Sala Meeting Room, second floor, 801 Washington Street, Canton, on Tuesday, April 14th, 2026, on or after 7 p.m. I move that the board open the public hearing.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
I chair as well, 5-0. The petitioner isn't here, I believe, tonight. Oh, would you like to come up and introduce yourself?
Hello, my name is Onur. We just moved to Canton like 5 months ago, and we just wanted to start our business here. We used to work in Southborough. We think that this city has more potential than there. So we are happy to be here.
Excellent, excellent, sir. Is everything in order?
Everything's in order.
Everything is in order. I welcome to Canton. Seeing everything is order, make a motion
I
to
move
close.
that the board close the public hearing.
Motion made.
Second.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Chair as well, 5-0. Next.
I move that the board approve the application for a Class II auto dealer's license for Urban Auto Group LLC, DBA Urban Motors, 1033 Turnpike Street, Canton, Mass. 02021.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Chair as well, 5-0. Congratulations.
Best of luck.
Good luck.
Welcome to Canton. Best of luck.
Okay. Notice is hereby given that the Canton Select Board will hold a public hearing beginning on or after approximately 7:15 p.m. on Tuesday, April 14th, 2026, in the Sala Meeting Room located on the second floor of 801 Washington Street, Canton, Mass. The purpose of this hearing is to obtain public input and hear the recommendation of the Water Sewer Rate Policy Committee and their consultant relative to a new water and sewer rates and rate structure with implementation date proposed for the bills issued in the fiscal year 2027, i.e. as of July 1st, 2026. The public is urged to attend and participate or send written comments to the above address or via email at bos@town.canton.ma.us. I move that the board open the public hearing.
Second.
Motion made and second.
How dare
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Chair as well, 5-0. Mr. Scollins, welcome.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. We're here, as you know, to discuss the results of the Town of Canton Water and Sewer rate study and recommendations. But first off, I'd like to introduce our consultant, Mike Maker from New Gen Strategies. And we also have a couple of members from the committee, although I'm going to name them all. The members of the Water and Sewer Rate Policy Committee are Mike Trotter, who's here, Chris Sykes, Mike Jerrier, Tom Birmingham, Dan Cole, and Joe Ridge. This is the group that spent the last 4 months compiling data for the consultant, reviewing various iterations of their rate models, and refining several new rate structure options. Just wanted to set the stage here. We're not planning to ask the select board tonight for a vote at this meeting on these possible structural changes.
How dare you!
The intention is to share the findings and the potential ratepayer impacts while obtaining members' thoughts and direction about said changes. We intend to return to the board at your April 28th meeting to obtain your input and vote on any changes. This is intended to provide you with ample time to consider the recommendations before voting on them. And so we will start by discussing the presentation. So the goal, I'm going to discuss study goals and business fundamentals, cost drivers, revenue requirements, financial projections, rate designs and projected rates, bill impacts and comparisons, and recommendation. So the goals and objectives are twofold. First is to ensure the long-term financial sustainability of the water and sewer utility operations. And we do that by maintaining a reserve target of 180 days or 50% of operating expenses to ensure sustainability of the funds. We also allow the town to use less debt and more cash to fund capital improvement projects as debt financing increases costs. So that's a good reason to have healthy reserves, given the capital intensive and expensive nature of maintaining this infrastructure. Another goal is to promote water conservation efforts from the state and the town, which are driving drought-related mandates, and also to update our 5-year financial plan with phased gradual rate increases. The other focus of our committee's work was rate design under the concept of improve distributive equity and conservation price signals. So factors considered in this study include consider increasing the revenue derived from the fixed cost portion of the bills from 8.5% to 10% of revenue. That improves revenue stability with declining usage and higher variability cost trends. Also, evaluate options to improve rate design for multifamily customers. Strengthen conservation price signals through inclining block tiered rates, meaning the higher the water usage, the higher the cost, sort of like a step function. And then to differentiate irrigation rates from water rates to reflect structural differences. So pictorially, this is these are the basic fundamentals that drive these enterprise funds. Revenue sufficiency, the revenues should match or exceed expenses. Reserves to prepare for the unexpected, and then also reinvestment, repair, replace, and reinvest in the infrastructure.
How dare you!
So the factors affecting Canton's charges and rates. So these are the underlying assumptions that drove the financial modeling. So operation and maintenance expense increases. So wholesale water purchase and sewage treatment expenses from MWRA, as you know, we're a customer of theirs, were escalated 3.9% for water and 2.9% for sewer based on MWRA estimates. The majority of expenses were escalated by 3% based on CPI over the last several years. Chemical and labor expenses were escalated by 4%, and benefit expenses, which are allocated back to these enterprise funds, were escalated by 5%. There's also capital improvement plans, and $30 million of investment in water and sewer has been projected over the next 5 years. That's to, we've updated the investment plan for the town's water treatment and distribution system and the sewage collection system, and also vehicle and asset replacement. Debt service is a major factor, current and new debt to fund capital improvement projects, including general obligation bonds and MWRA loans. As far as customer changes in water usage and sewage generation charges, the number of customers and the usage were kept static in the projections, just to make it easier to understand the changes that we're considering. Same with miscellaneous revenue charges. We kept those static as well. And again, the reserve target is to achieve and maintain minimum operating reserve balances of 50% of operating expenses or 180 days. And another pictorial description of the basics that drive the needs to derive the revenue that it needs to be derived for the enterprise fund. So it starts with wholesale expenses. That would be our MWRA water purchases, as well as the charges for sewage processing. Operating expenses, so all the operating expenses you can think of to run these enterprises, including salaries. Current debt service. So these are debt bonds, obligations that we've already issued, and we have to pay the amortization on those over time. We have cash funded capital projects. That's a goal, is to increase that over time, so we're borrowing less. And then, of course, new debt service for this infrastructure intensive set of enterprises. So all of that together is what builds up drives the need for our annual revenue requirement. And with that, I'm going to turn this over to Mike, consultant.
I can sit up there.
Okay, great.
All right, thanks, Randy. So it's been a pleasure working with the town and the committee. We've had a lot of constructive conversations over the past few months. And so I'm going to go over some of the results of those conversations. So I know it's a little hard to see here, but this is for water, this slide. And I have two charts here. On the left is your expenses versus revenues. So these stacked columns are expenses. So just like Randy went over on the different revenue requirements stack, as you can see at the bottom is the wholesale expenses in that dark blue. After that is your salaries, benefits, materials, supplies, your operating expenses in that lighter blue. Any principal and interest payments you're currently paying, so that are your obligations you have to fulfill, is in the red. Any cash funding of projects is in that purple color. And then any projects that we plan on debt funding, either using GO bonds or MWRA loans. And then you can see that black dash line going horizontally across. That's how much revenue you're bringing in now if you didn't raise rates. So you can see it's roughly covering the majority of your costs. Some years you can see there's a slight shortfall as you're not covering the new debt service. Our recommended proposed revenue is that green line that's sloping up to the right, and that represents roughly 3% increase each year in water revenues. So roughly just keeping up with the cost of inflation, even though we showed some of our other costs are actually rising more than inflation. And as you know, because we're a wholesale supplier, receiver of goods, we're kind of stuck with whatever increases they pass along in WRA. So any increases there automatically have to be an increase for your customers. The chart on the right is the cash balance. So essentially, anytime there is a surplus, you should see that cash balance go up, that blue bar. That black is the 180 days that Randy discussed is our target. So we want to make sure that blue bar is above the black line. And you can see we're doing a multi-year plan here so that we eventually are making sure that happens. If we do it all in 1 year, there'd be quite some rate shocks. We're trying to eventually get to meeting that threshold. This is the same set of charts, but this is for sewer now. So we've kept the y-axis on the same basis, so you can see the cost comparison. Looks like the costs are a little less here for sewer. Same thing with the cash balances, but same cost. Wholesale expenses are typically higher for wastewater, so you can see those stacks are a little larger for the dark blue. Operating expenses not so much here. Then the current debt service, cash funded projects, and new debt service. And again, here we're also doing a 3% increase, and you can see you're already meeting 180 days because the blue bar is above the black. And we're actually using some of that cash over time because you can see it's actually dropping a little until it gets closer to that 50 year with meeting the target.
Inconceivable.
So now we're going to move to what your current rate design looks like. This is what your customers pay today. So on the left side here is the water rates. So customers pay a quarterly service charge by meter size. So regardless of using any water before you turn on the tap, there's a cost to get that service to you. So regardless if you use any water, you still have to pay the salaries, the debt service, the infrastructure, things like that. The majority of your residential customers are going to be that first charge there, that less than 1 inch. So that's a 5/8, 3/4 inch. That's kind of the typical meter size for a residential customer. They're paying about $20 per quarter just for that fixed charge. If you're a larger commercial customer, or if you had a really large residence, you may pay the 1 inch, maybe 1.5, but then the really large commercials would start paying those higher charges. I know those charges look higher, but there's very few customers probably paying those higher charges. The majority of your customer base, probably 80-85%, is just paying that $20. And then there's a quarterly irrigation service charge. So if you have a separate irrigation connection, you pay that $8. Now, when you actually start using the water, there's a variable rate, and this varies per 100 cubic feet. And so for those of you who know, 100 cubic feet is roughly 748 gallons. So 1 cubic foot is 7.48 gallons. It's a lot easier to imagine what a gallon looks like. Everybody knows what a gallon of milk looks like. It's harder to imagine a cube of water, but that's how a lot of these systems measure their water. So the variable rates here are tiered, and so the more you use, the more you pay. It's kind of like your income taxes. There's different brackets. So in a tier 1, if you use from 0 to 1,500 cubic feet per quarter, you pay $5.68 per 100 cubic feet. So each of those 15 cubic feet in that tier 1 would be at $5.68. Once you go over that, you can see it goes from 1,500 to 4,000, and then 10,000, and then over 10,000. So only your really large users are gonna really exceed that tier 4. And then again, for irrigation customers, you have a separate irrigation connection. There's 3 tiers here, and you can see those tiers actually align with the second, third, and fourth tier of the water customers, and those rates match those. Similar structure for sewer. Again, a quarterly charge. Here it's only $5.57 for a typical residential customer. And then you also have the 4-tier structure with the same tiers, different rates because it costs usually a little more for the wastewater. And of course, we're not going to have irrigation because the water that goes to irrigation ends up going into the ground. So, okay, I know it's a lot of text again. This is our comparison. We looked at several rate designs. This is what we've brought to you today. So we're looking at the current rate design, what that looks like. And this is more just the qualitative explanation of the quantitative numbers I showed you on the prior slide. Now, the 3 designs here, they're all bringing in the same amount of revenue. So it's all bringing in that 3% per year additional revenue, but different customers will be affected differently. So you're essentially getting that 3% additional revenue from different customer classes. So if you just maintain the current rate design, again, it's the quarterly service charge, varies by meter size, the 4-tier inclining blocks, and then the 3-tier for irrigation. Pretty much everybody's going to see a 3% increase in their bill each year for the next 5 years. So it's really simple to administer. Everybody kind of understands the system as it is. The alternatives we looked at. So the first one, we're introducing this concept we're calling unit factoring. So Randy talked about trying to be a little more distributive equity to apartments. So right now, if you're an apartment building, you have a meter size, a large meter size, and we don't know how much usage each unit is using of the apartment. So essentially, because you have the tiered rate structure, you're currently considering them kind of as one customer, where it's really every unit in that apartment is kind of its own residential customer. So what we're introducing is each customer getting that that tiered system per unit. So essentially, we're taking those tiers at 0 to 1,500 for the first tier, and if there's 10 units, it now becomes 0 to 15,000. So it allows those customers to stay in the lower tier and maintain those lower rates than getting bumped up to that fourth tier really quickly. There's going to be a lot of explanation on this, so you'll see some examples in next slides. But it does have some changes to how customers are affected. So there's a couple moving parts here too as well. So we're also, Randy talked about on the earlier slide, was trying to get more revenue from the fixed charges. So we are seeing declining usage kind of per capita nationwide. So more customers are using less water. There's low flow fixtures, there's conservation. So most of your costs are fixed. So we're trying to get a little more from that fixed revenue. So that's moving it from 8.5% to 10% in terms of what you're getting from fixed. By doing that, instead of a 3% increase to that, though, you're seeing like a 20% increase to that particular fixed charge. And then the unit factoring, that equates to about a 12 to 14% increase, and the irrigation as well. Now, this is only a 1-year change, so after that, it goes back to 3%.
And if I could just add, and just to be clear, so these larger increases under this alternative rate design 1 is because of a shift of $1.2 million of revenue from the apartment complexes to all other customers. So that's what's driving the larger rate increases under the variable water rate and variable irrigation rates.
Yeah, essentially what you're doing is you're taking that usage that was on the higher tier and you're now bringing it to the lower tiers. So in order for the rates to correct themselves, assuming the same amount of revenue, the rates adjust for that. So this alternative rate design 1, it's spreading that additional cost over all customers, so water and irrigation customers. And the only real change for design 2 is understanding that irrigation is more discretionary use. We're putting more of that cost to the irrigation customers. And so you can see that in the increases there.
And that was a design choice that the committee made, not to put 100% of the $1.2 million to irrigation, because then you would have seen variable rates for irrigations higher than this 36 to 38, would have been substantially higher. So committee agreed on sort of a middle ground, something that if the board would consider going this route, that it would be something not as extreme as if we had shifted the entire 1.2 million to irrigation customers.
Anyone?
And then for sewer, the current rate design, and then just one alternative because we don't have the irrigation customers. But here we were taking the fixed charge from roughly 2.5% of revenue to 5%. So you're almost doubling how much you're getting from that fixed charge. So it would almost be 100% increase on the fixed charge component. And then variable rates would be about 5 to 7%. The other change I didn't mention in the last slide is also adjusting the tiers for irrigation. So
how dare you?
Okay, I'll show them here. So then this again just shows the rate tiers. If you look at the top one, the water variable, you'll see they don't change from current to alternative. It's really that middle table where you can see irrigation right now is 0 to 4,000. That would go to 0 to 2,400. 4,000 to 10,000 is 2,400 to 7,500, and then over 10,000 be over 7,500. Just kind of right sizing what irrigation usage looks like. It doesn't have a huge impact. It's just kind of right sizing the irrigation charges there, and the sewer doesn't change as well. So it's just that middle table that changes.
I think one of the driving points in the discussions that led to this proposal on the changes in the tiers on irrigation is the amount of water that a typical resident would use to water their lawn. We thought that was closer to 2,400 as opposed to 4,000.
Okay, so I introduced this topic of the unit factoring. So here's a little more detail on how it works. So right now with an apartment, the tenants do not receive the bill. The landlord receives the bill. So the town doesn't have control over how the costs are passed on to the tenant from the landlord. So you would assume the landlord receives a bill and then divides it equally over the units or something like that. So for example, if a 10-unit apartment, it's usually what we'll call a master meter. So maybe it's on a 1-inch or a 2-inch meter. Right now, it just goes through the same tiers as everybody else. So as I mentioned before, all that usage ends up being in like that fourth tier really quickly. And so each of those apartment units aren't really receiving the benefit of those lower tiers. Now condos, which are kind of similar to apartments in terms of usage, but they're not similar in their tax status, right? They're separate units. They already receive the benefit of that unit factoring. So they're already receiving the individual tiers benefit. So they're not jumping to that top tiers like the apartments are. So one of the things we explored, the committee was going to this unit factoring, which I mentioned was kind of multiplying the tiers by the units to give them access to the lower tiers. But one of the caveats is the bill's still going to go to the landlord. So one of our worries is if we can lower the bill for the apartment complex, is the landlord going to pass those savings on to the tenants, or are they just going to pocket the savings? So we went through a lot of iterations of this, and I think we'd like to keep exploring it. But I don't want to bury the lead. We'll get to that, I think, in a couple slides here. And then I think we have a good example to show you, just to drill home how it works on the next slide here. So here's a true example with numbers. So we have the tiers on the left, and then the second column are the current tiers. This is how it works right now for a current customer. This is an apartment with 10 units, and that's about roughly the median or average for the apartments in the town. And they use about 9,000 cubic feet of usage per quarter. So because I mentioned there's 10 units, if you go to the alternative design, which is that third column, the alt tiers, I'm simply taking the current tiers and multiplying by 10. So now if you're using all that water, you're not quickly jumping up to, let's see, for 9, you're not quickly jumping to the third tier. All of your water is actually staying in the first tier, because that tier now is expanded from 0 to 1,500 to 0 to 15,000. So you're getting the benefit of the lower rates from tier 1 as opposed to having to pay those higher rates. And it's really evident when you look at the current bill. The second to last column is about $1,200 right now. If they went to this unit factoring, their bill would be about just under $600, so almost cut in half. And then the bottom chart just shows the usage, the blue being currently how it's being assessed, and then the green, if you went to the alternative, everything would stay in that tier 1. So we always say customers don't really care what their rates are. They want what their bill is going to be. So this, again, is some sample bills. And again, there's a lot of numbers here. The first column is just looking at different types of customers. So we have a small residential customer that's in the 25th percentile. And we have it broken down by a water bill, a sewer bill, and then a combined bill. We then have a median residential customer. So that's roughly half your customers use less than 1,300 cubic feet and half use more. A larger residential is going to be about 2,000 cubic feet. And then a typical apartment, which is the example I showed on the prior slide, 10 units, roughly 9,000 cubic feet. And then a typical irrigation bill, which is again about 1,300. So you can see their current bill in that fourth column. If you maintain the current rate design, but for 2027, everybody just sees a 3%, as we mentioned before. If you go to an alternative, things aren't quite as clean. Some customers are going to see higher bills, some are going to see lower bills.
Inconceivable.
But you can see the apartments are the great beneficiary of it. You can see some of those bills are actually dropping by half, 20%, 30%. But other customers have to make up for that in their rates. You can see their bills are going up higher than the 3%. And then on the next slide, we are taking that, this is for that median customer. So it's that 50 percentile. This is somebody with either a 3/4 inch, 5/8 inch meter, only one dwelling unit, so a single family, and then using 1,300 cubic feet. The blue being water, the green being sewer. You can see, so for Canton, you're the dark colors. You can see you're roughly in the middle of the road there, the 2026 bill. If you just did the 3%, you'd still be in the middle. However, if you went to the alternatives, your bill would be slightly higher for this customer. But again, if we were to show this slide for apartments, you'd actually be lower than the middle. And all of these other towns or communities, this is just what their rates are available on their website. Some of them may also be planning on a rate increase. This is just readily available data. So.
And that's where Canton has traditionally been. It's been right in the middle of the pack in terms of its cost for water and sewer. So no surprises here.
Inconceivable.
So Next is recommendations that the committee voted unanimously for these recommendations. And this is the committee is an advisory board to you, water and sewer commissioners / select board. So this is just our recommendation to you, but obviously the select board can make whatever decisions that you deem appropriate. So the recommendation was to maintain the current rate design and fixed charge revenue, to not make changes there. And so to use the existing tier structure, provide stability, straightforward for everybody to understand, including customers. The alternatives were evaluated, but they had complexity without significant benefit, meaning that we cannot control how the landlord is going to pass along the savings if we were to introduce one of these alternative structures. The consensus is that the landlords are likely going to, pocket the savings, and that was a major concern of the committee. Is that we could make this nice change to have more distributive equity, if you will, to apartment complexes, but if the savings don't pass to those customers, then it's for naught. So that was the major driving factor for recommending status quo for now, and recommending 3% annual bill increases. If you were to vote a rate increase in your next meeting, it would only be for 1 year, not for 5 years. It would just be 3% for FY27 if you were to vote that. But we want to continue to evaluate the apartment unit factoring. Landlords receive bills directly. Again, as we said, savings may not pass to the tenants. It would be useful to revisit if there's a mechanism that could exist to ensure savings benefit residents. And I think everybody on the committee would like to see that. Mr. Birmingham had some great ideas about, over time, how it might be possible to move the needle in that direction. Tom, I don't know if you wanted to speak to those.
Good evening, Tom.
My name is Tom Birmingham, and I'm a member of the Water Sewer Policy Committee. As some of you may know, I spent my entire professional career in the utility industry and know well the opportunities and challenges for providing safe, reliable, resilient, and affordable utility services. And if your brain isn't hurting after this presentation, I don't know what would do that, because it's complicated. There's a lot to it. And I want to quickly thank Randy for his leadership on this important initiative, and Mike and his team at New Gen for their expertise and guidance. We really benefited from hiring New Gen. And also to my fellow committee members for their thoughtful and meaningful engagement on this important issue. Since the committee voted unanimously in favor of recommending to the select board the continued use of our current water rate design, I've been doing some more thinking about the select board's various policy options to address tenant rate bill impact issues. With your indulgence, I have a few ideas that may help frame potential go-forward options for the select board's consideration, consistent with the rate committee's recommendations. I believe this longer view addresses select board members' concerns about providing relief to tenants while addressing the $1.2 million of associated revenue that must be collected regardless of the solution. These ideas have not been vetted by the committee, so they definitely need to be further assessed for their costs, their benefits, and their feasibility. But hopefully they serve as a potential outline for a go-forward roadmap. So 3 different time periods: near term, 0 to 2 years, as we've recommended, maintain the current rate design and fixed revenue charge percentage. Second option in this period is to explore the costs and benefits of implementing tenant-focused conservation programs, which include free low-flow fixtures, tenant education programs, and water conservation kits. I'm not sure how well we've done that as a town. And Mike Trott, I'm sure, would be able to provide some more detail on that, but that's just an idea to consider. There's also this opportunity to encourage voluntary landlord transparency, including potentially lease transparency, where the lease indicates whether water is included in the rent. Second option is utility cost statements, where the landlord shares a summary of building water, sewer use, and costs with their tenants. And finally, public reporting by the landlord, where large building reports their water intensity on a per unit basis. This would continue to give the public a better sense, and the tenants themselves, of how the water rates and usage work within their building, because they never see the metered usage. In the medium term, 2 to 5 years, potentially exploring the costs and benefits of requiring sub-metering in new multifamily developments. The real root of the problem is we cannot measure what the tenants are using in these apartment buildings. Thus, further down the road to better understanding how to measure and bill the tenants. And next alternative in this mid-tier term is to do a deeper dive in adjusting the per unit service charges, which were discussed earlier by Mike, which are per unit fixed water sewer fees assessed to each dwelling unit served by a master meter, regardless of how much water is used. Another alternative is to assess the value of adopting partial unit factoring to mitigate cost shifts to other customer classes over time. The example that Mike gave you was full unit factoring. There may be an opportunity to explore going halfway, or some not completely there. It reduces the rate impacts on the other customers, and it gets you closer to our goal. And finally, under this 2 to 5 year window, could be to evaluate targeted incentives for sub-metering retrofits for existing buildings. In the long term, one of the biggest challenges that we're facing is to monitor and support state level regulations, legislation that are necessary to be able to bill landlords and tenants differently than we have to do today. So it's perhaps a legislative option that is obviously longer term, a lot of hoops to go through there, but it's an option. And finally, to assess the cost benefits and feasibility of broader metering modernization, which again, it's what you're seeing in the electricity side and the natural gas side are time of use meters, billing infrastructure so that usage can be measured more accurately, more frequently, and potentially at the individual dwelling unit. There's obviously a lot of costs, financial feasibility associated with some of these proposals, but I just wanted to present with you the bigger, longer term picture. We've just presented you what we recommend for the next year, but I do think there's some other ways that you could look at this over time. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you very much.
Thanks, man.
Just wanted to publicly thank Mr. Birmingham for his thoughtfulness and diligence on the committee and about this topic, and not wanting to leave you with no option. So Tom's really put, as you can see, a lot of thought into possible ideas to explore going forward. Again, the committee is disappointed that this is where we landed, but we just didn't think it would be the right thing to pass all the savings on to the landlords.
Question for you. If an apartment building, right, was an apartment building converted to condos, all right, so you have 12 units in the building are converted to condos, which many of these apartments in town have, are they still on the bulk metering, or are they divided up?
Is that, are you talking about something
Well,
that
it
has
says
happened or could
an
happen?
existing, it's already happened.
Okay.
We have an existing condominium complex. It has 12 units per building, 6 buildings, sorry. And they convert that from apartments to condominiums. How is that meted? Would it be the same as the apartment originally, or would it be converted by, just because it's a condominium, they divide it by 12?
Here's my understanding of how that would work, and I'll look to Mike to correct me if I get this wrong. But if they're converted to condominiums and therefore they're going to be individually owned, meaning there's not a landlord is going to own all those units, but you're going to have an individual owner with their own tax bill.
Right.
And if you can now sub-meter them or not, I don't see why they wouldn't be unit factored if it was still a master meter, but I'll defer to Mike on this one.
We have a mix of that
Yeah.
in place right now. It's easier if it's sub-metered. But there is some unit factoring in when they become owner occupant.
Okay. That makes sense.
I would probably, also there was an HOA probably at that point.
Yeah.
So then they have an
So they
incentive
could actually
down.
bring that.
They may spread the cost out, but they're not gonna, the HOA is not gonna
Right.
pocket additional.
Okay, I get it. That's a good answer. Thank you.
Yeah, the question.
Go ahead.
Chair. So, couple of questions. The number 3 water alternative rate design, shifting it to primarily irrigation customers, that 1.2 million. How many irrigation accounts do we have, and how many are businesses, and how many are residential? Do we know that?
We do. It's about 2,800. Yeah, about 2,800 irrigation customers.
So what's the math on 1.2 million being absorbed by 2,800?
It's not entirely, the whole 1.2 doesn't go to, if you wanna go to that slide, I can show that, yeah.
I just want to know.
Yeah.
Stop.
Keep going. Keep going.
Thanks.
One more. So you see the that bolded line for alternative 1 spreads 1.2 million. Almost 2/3 goes to water and then 1/3 to irrigation.
Mhm.
Whereas in the alternative design 2, it kind of flip flops. So majority goes to irrigation. So not the entire 1.2, but almost 800,000. I don't have the quick math of what that would be per, but you can see the increase though at the bottom there. They're seeing about a 36% increase on those rates. Whereas in the alternative rate design 1, everybody sees a roughly 12 to 14%. So it's
So you're thinking it's around 36% per?
for the rate, not for the bill. So
Yeah,
for the rate. Because there's a lot less customers, so they're sharing on a larger burden there.
Right.
Right now, the average customer uses 13 HCFs
Yeah.
per quarter. So if you take the rate, 3% rate increase over the 26 rate now.
Yeah.
That figures out to be $6.40 a quarter increase, or $26 a year for everybody.
Okay.
If you go with alternate 1 and you shift that to irrigation, then the impact on that over your 26 bill is $26 a quarter, or $104 a year for everybody.
Okay.
So if you look to give a break to the apartments and the renters and shift that to irrigation, everybody's going to pay $104 as opposed to $25.
Okay. Wait, can I just ask 2 more questions?
Absolutely.
Also, Mike, what does it cost to retrofit? Like when you were just talking about some of the condo conversions, what does it cost to sub-meter an existing building?
I have no idea. I can't answer
Anyone?
that.
Anyone?
Oh.
I would guess it would
Anyone?
be
Anyone?
a lot of money for
the
owner.
For the owner.
JR may be able to help.
No, it would
help
be,
you out better.
the housing authority is a bulk metering too, because we have, 14 units in a building, 8 units in a building. To actually put a meter on each line, it would be astronomical to get those meters in to cover each individual apartment.
How dare
You
you?
wouldn't be able to do it.
Do you think Ed Walsh knows? Do you think Ed would know?
It would be huge.
It would be a guesstimate.
Yeah.
I don't know how accurate you want it to be. I
approximation would be wonderful.
Anyone?
The problem is all the lines for the building are all going up one wall.
Yeah.
And now you have a cold water and a hot water that tie into the basement.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have to, like a condo unit and built today, they'd have their own meter on the outside of a townhouse.
Right.
So everything works really nice.
No, I know. I just was, he mentioned retrofitting, so I was just curious. Wait, I have one last question.
Okay.
Is, did you guys talk with any of the landlords?
No.
No?
No, we didn't want to usurp the Board of Water and Sewer Commissioners' authorities here. If that's a direction that you'd like us to go, we can do that, but we want to do that under the guise of, this is under the direction of the Canton's Board of Water and Sewer Commissioners.
Conceivable.
Okay. Anybody else want questions? Yes.
First, my question is to you,
Yeah.
because you were talking about senior housing in the town. So does the senior housing in the town, the apartments, do they have that higher water rate?
Absolutely. yes.
Well, but they are, they're billed monthly though.
Yeah.
In order to, so there's less volume that's being billed when they are billed.
So I'm hearing that they have like a specialized way to get a lower rate.
Instead of a quarterly bill, it's a monthly.
And I'm hearing that apartments that got turned into condos, even though they don't have subdivided meters, have like kind of a loophole to have that rate because they turned into a condo.
Well, I wouldn't consider it a loophole. Again, we're talking about private ownership now
Right.
versus
Not a
common
loophole,
ownership
a
of lot of
solution. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, so I guess what I'm questioning, because it is fascinating and it does hurt your brain, because it's so, I think it's admirable that we hired a consultant to put this together. And I think it's frustrating to not have a solution. I think I see your frustration as well. And I love Tom's perspective of all these different ways to move forward. And I understand that, again, we're making a decision for a year, but when regarding talking to the landlords, the assumption should be that the landlords might want this because a renter who has fewer bills to pay will be able to pay their rent on time. They make a better tenant. So I think that, I just love that option of talking and having a voluntary agreement with these renters to possibly implement something that is so equitable in the very near future. And in the meantime, I think maybe a possible solution for this year is to think about, like the needs and wants of water. We need water to bathe, to drink, and do all this stuff. So maybe we can shift a little bit of that burden to kind of inch towards shifting that burden towards irrigation a little bit more during this first year, even if it disrupts that 3% for everybody, to kind of set the standard of we're trying to be more equitable, not only with who pays what in this town for the same ounce, cubic foot meter of water, but also what they're using the water for, because that speaks to environmental sustainability. And it also speaks to the fact that we're trying to be fair, equitable, environmental overall. So I would love to explore that option as well. And thank you. This really was so in-depth.
I will say on that, right now, the same amount of usage for a water bill or irrigation bill, the bill is going to be higher for irrigation just because their first tier starts at the second tier for water. So if you were to look at two of those bills, they're already paying a little more, but I can understand your yeah. And then the thing on the landlords, that's a good point about you think they would root for that, and maybe if you can get landlords to sign up, they can get the unit factoring, and those who don't sign up would not get it, and then their tenants could push them to say, hey, I wish you would sign up for that to help me out.
Inconceivable.
And you might get more favorable tenancy, I guess, in those ones. The other thing is to think about is how do we get the discount directly to the renter, right? Directly to the tenant. So you could even think about, check with legal on this, but if you could do like vouchers or something directly to the renter, it's hard to say, oh, now you have to turn around and use that for your bill, but regardless of what they use it for, your purpose is to give them that to recognize that, hey, you guys are paying a little more than you probably should be. Here's some sort of, affordability mechanism.
And you could do that, but whatever value those vouchers are, you still have to make it up somewhere else.
Right.
And with the irrigation factor, if you dumped it on the irrigation customer could actually say, I'm not doing this, shut his irrigation off, and you have no control. That revenue is gone. That's just a instant shut the valve off. That doesn't really, it ruins their lawn, things look ugly, but that's the truth. And then in the other aspect of the renter, as not being a homeowner, that each unit is occupied differently. So now if you give out a voucher, all right, I live in the apartment by myself, use no water. I have a guy across the hall has his wife and 3 kids. All right, I get a $30 voucher. He gets a $30 voucher. And I'm like, you know, until you get that split, you're not going to have an even thing, and you could have tenants fighting one another over what isn't fair, even though they're getting cost reduced. But sitting on this board the last 3 years, we have the renters come in, and no one has ever said anything, we're going to reduce it, their rents. It's always they're coming in every year asking for 10%. I don't like to give them anything, but we've given them 5% because it'll go back to the state. So with the demand of apartments, the renter is going to, the actual landlord is going to, hey, I want the best of the buck. So it makes it difficult without that sub-metering. It makes it really difficult.
Yeah, that's why I
Yeah.
really like Mr. Birmingham's suggestion that for any new developments for congregate living
Split 'em up.
that require sub-metering. I realize it's expensive, it's going to add to the cost.
But I
of
don't know,
development.
would the town couldn't require a builder, that would be to do that. They couldn't, I don't think we could require that.
Why not?
Code.
Because it would have to be put into the building code to actually implement something. The town couldn't mandate metering because the cost of that development might increase $1 million, and there's anyone who will do it.
Inconceivable.
So, okay.
Can I ask another question? Just
Yeah,
I asked so
sure.
many. I still don't understand why senior housing, if they're renting, can be billed separately at the lower rate
Well,
when an apartment.
I don't think they are getting, they're not getting a unit factoring, they're just getting a more frequent bill.
We're getting a frequent bill with the use is astronomical. We're getting the highest rate.
Okay.
So it doesn't solve it
And
entirely.
the other issue with the housing authority too, just so that you're clear, is the housing authority doesn't go up their rent every year 10%. We're capped at 30% of the income, and that's it.
Right.
And the per unit rent would probably be around $400 right now compared to the average rental in a Canton, which is $2,500. So, you know, you have a different quality, and the housing authority, Canton Housing, is subsidized by the state because it doesn't meet its bills with the rents it receives. So it's a little different
It might
structure.
be useful to talk to some landlords like you talked about, because where you talked about how different people in different apartments, I wonder how they split it up now. Do they do it by bedroom, or, you know, are they just splitting it equally among their apartments? I don't know.
Not with the housing, it's just we get the bill and that's it. And one of the other things is working with apartments is that sometimes a tenant will have an outside silcock and forget to turn it off. And we've seen it here on the board with homeowners coming in for reduction in their water. They get a $7,000 bill, and meanwhile the pipe's been leaking outside underground for 6 months. And now with the new meters, I think that the town's really seen it before it gets too big. With the new meters, they actually can read them quick and say, hey, something's going on in this house. So that's
Yeah,
really good.
leak adjustment policy is kind of a separate issue, but certainly should have one.
Well, I thank you. Is there anybody in the, oh, sorry, I'm sorry, Sue, yeah. Mike, you got something to say? Okay, sorry.
I'm going to talk a lot and then I do have questions, but, we spent a whole year getting to this point. We said to all the renters, hang in there, we're working on it. And here we are proposing to do nothing, which I find deeply troubling. I am a person who owns an irrigation system. My lawn is being subsidized by the renters in this town, who are among some of the lowest income people in this town. I cannot stomach that. The whole policy is predicated on the idea that landlords will not do the right thing when we haven't had that conversation. So I think it would be foolish to even consider making a policy without including them in the conversation. So number one, they can be asked to do the right thing, as Beckham points out, I think there's a distinct possibility that they will. You make a point about rents, but rents and water rates are two different things from a landlord's point of view. Secondly, I guess I want to understand, how did we get here? Why is it that this very inequitable way of billing for water has happened in the first place? Can anyone in this room answer that
Yeah,
question?
I know Mr. Trotter can, but I wouldn't call it inequitable. This
It's
is not
not
unique to
inequitable.
Canton. It's not inequitable. This is the common practice across the state.
It may be common, but it's inequitable.
I
It's
understand you-
inequitable that a single retiree living in senior housing is paying $150 a month for water. And I've had these conversations.
I don't
$300
disagree
a
with
month.
that, but this is the common practice across the state. I think Mike can answer your question.
It's not easy to answer. It's not, I would say it's not inequitable because a gallon of water for you and a gallon of water for the renter costs the same per unit. It's not like we're charging a homeowner $1 and we're charging the renter $3. Everybody's paying $1 or whatever that unit cost is. Everybody's paying the same. The problem becomes in where you fall in your usage. There's a couple of things that go into it. I think Tom has some good ideas. Voucher is a good idea, but you can't do it in the state of Massachusetts because it needs legislation to pass, because you cannot, they call those lifetime rates. You cannot offer lifetime rates in the state of Massachusetts. You are required to have increasing block rates, full cost of service, and that's a requirement for us to be able to withdraw water. So that becomes a legislation problem. We have done 2 or 3 outreaches to the biggest water users in town. We've sat down with them and we've 2 times, I think the last time was maybe 5 years ago, and offered them advice on how they can control their uses. We have offered low flow shower heads. We have offered education programs. We're doing education programs in the schools to try to bring this, get that message across. I understand the political pressure. I understand the perception, but just keep in mind, everybody's paying the same rate for the water. We are going to, in the long term, we're going to automatic AMI meter readers, which will, in the next few years, allow us to bill more often, which in theory would decrease your bill. But that's going to cost a couple of $1 million in the long run for the town. We've already gone to capital planning and put that into the 5-year plan. So when I say we, the town, under the water sewer, we're moving along in that direction. Again, if you want to do that, if you want to vote the alternative 1 or alternative 2, you can, but you're going to raise the bill for everybody else, like I said, from $25 a year to $100 a year. Part of our problem was, how can we guarantee that that renter is going to get the break? We can't do that. And the other thing, you have to take the political out of it now and look in the real world. You're kind of up against it because you're already, whatever you do now, the people that are using water right now are going to be affected by what you do for July 1st. So the rates you determine today are going to affect the April, May, and June bill. So the longer you put this off, making a decision, which you can do, the reality effect is it's going to increase everybody's bill down the way anyways. And it will, actually, it would be very difficult for us at this point, given our operating system, to put that increase off until the third quarter instead of the beginning of the fiscal year. So that's the reality of it. I understand the political pressure side of it. How did we get here? Well, previous boards made a decision to run the system this way. You, as the water sewer commissioners, could turn around and say, okay, let's run it another way. Well, what's the alternate way? The ultimate way might be look at some of the things that Tom says. Again, the ultimate way might be spend a little more money with the consultant and say,
How dare you?
Do a business review. And are we doing things the right way? Do we need to change things and do it a different way? So that again will take time. And I understand.
Anyone?
You know, we talk about a lot in public works. There's an engineering reason, there's a good reason, and there's a political reason. And you can't always get those three to mesh. Inconceivable. So there's things at the state level that control what we have to do as a utility. And there's not a lot for water, there's not a lot of different ways of dealing with it, because we have to follow a water withdrawal permit. That's why we have to, in May, say we have to restrict the outside use of water, even though there's a plentiful water there. But for us to withdraw, the state says you have to put these in effect. So we have to do it. So I don't know if I answered your question. I would argue.
You gave me information, I agree. I don't know if you answered my question.
I would argue that we're not treating people differently. It ends up that the way the system is and the perception is, it looks like people are getting treated differently. No. If I use 10 gallons of water, I pay the same as the person that uses 100 gallons of water per unit cost. But they pay more because they use more, and that's just the way it is. And this is a conundrum, and I don't know how to get you out of it.
If you had unit factoring, that is a difference. So that renter is paying a different rate per gallon than I am as a single homeowner.
Well, you're not paying different per gallon. You're paying different per how much you use.
They're moving into tier 2
Yes,
a lot sooner than my single family home.
But
is.
again, that was a decision the board made maybe 15 or 20 years ago.
I think what Mike is saying is that the usage of the tiers right now is tied to the connection, which is just a meter size.
Right.
So it's only one meter size. So they're only getting one grouping of those tiers. But if we look deeper, we can see, oh, there are units behind that. There are
I mean, we've solved it in the
residential
condo
customers behind
situation.
Right.
We unit factor for condos, so this isn't like a radical idea here.
Yeah, I imagine when it was first set up, you probably had to move to conservation-based tiers, maybe pressure from the state, but nobody thought about how it affected the apartments, right? So here we are.
And this really, if Mike can probably answer this better, it's not a problem that is a Canton problem. It's a problem that is a national problem. And I'm not sure that anybody has, and different states can offer different rate structures. We can't here.
Some states are allowed to send a bill to a tenant too.
Mhm.
Doesn't have to go to the.
I will say I see in my neighborhood people running their irrigation system in the rain people watering the street. And so if they were paying a higher rate for their irrigation system, it might change their behavior for the better.
Sounds like they need a rain sensor as well if that thing's not working. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sue, you good?
That's it.
Michael?
So just to piggyback on Mr. Trotter, so some of the landlords are also charging their tenants a higher rate. So if tier one is $5.68, some of the landlords are charging $19 instead of $5.68. So I know the concern is unless we know that the savings is going to the tenant, and I definitely agree with that. I don't want to subsidize those bills unless I know that the tenants are going to benefit. But the fact that we already, we know that there are landlords who are marking up those water bills already doesn't give me great comfort that, hey, if we subsidize this and, put it towards the irrigation, that any savings is going to the tenant. And so I think that we need to, kind of build on what Mr. Birmingham was talking about. And maybe we do have to empower the consultant to start working with the landlords to see what are the solutions here. And I agree with you, Ms. Harrington, that, this has been a year and we don't have a lot of progress. But I think that kind of seeing this, we know what we want to do. We want to try to figure this out for the tenants without putting the burden on everybody else. And we want the tenants to realize the savings. So that's what problem we need to solve. I don't know that we just randomly say, like, all right, if you use irrigation, you're going to absorb a portion of this because, like Mr. McCourt said, people might shut off their irrigation and now we've lost that revenue and we're not solving the problem. We're hoping to solve the problem. I think we need to solve the problem.
I think mechanically, we figured it out that we need to do the unit factoring. It's just what you're saying. And like you said, nobody's spoken to the landlord yet. So
seems like
Right.
the place
let's not
to
assume
start.
it's a hurdle we can't
Right.
get past until we actually.
Can I just ask a clarifying question?
Yes.
So I just a little bit confused with all the just the different chimes in. But it is a fact because we just heard that 15 to 20 years ago, the select board decided to rate water in this fashion. So it is a fact that a glass of water at my house costs me less money than a glass of water at Windsor Woods in an apartment. That is a fact.
I guess if everybody in those units are using the same amount of water, they would reach the higher tier. They'd pay a higher rate.
Yeah, so like it would cost them, like they're not, so it would cost the person hosting me in their apartment more to pour me that glass of water, to take a shower, to do the laundry, than it would for me to
Right,
do
because
this.
of all their neighbors are also doing
Yes,
that.
because they're living in this collective water, which puts them in a higher tier. I just wanted to make that clear because that is a fact. And it isn't political. That is just a fact. And I don't think anyone, or I'm going to take responsibility for my own self. I am not being political in trying to point out that fact. I'm just trying to be humanitarian and just to make it affordable for everybody to pay the same thing for the same product. It's, buying water in an airport is $5.94, but if you get it, at Canton High, it might be $2. So, we're used to that inequity, but when it comes to our living spaces, this is the concern now. So, okay, I just wanted to.
Bottled water is an entirely different.
Right. Yeah. I don't want to.
But it was a good,
I wanted to, just make that clarifying question. Thank you.
Yeah, one of the last things I wanted, and this has been a long thing, and if there was a mandate to put separate metering in all these apartments back when they were built, that would have been, we wouldn't be talking here. But if we went and changed and shifted that, I think would be hurting a lot of seniors that own their own homes that are already, on the teetering of unaffordability with the taxes. We're increasing our taxes for the middle school, and a $100 increase, like Mr. Trotter said earlier, or towards a senior, teetering on, they're maxed out now. Diane Tynan and myself met with a gentleman who's really having trouble making his bills for his house, and he owns, it's like I understand you're senior, but how many people, if we jump to the second level, would that affect on those homeowners from just staying in their homes? They're paying taxes, owning their house, and paying a water bill. Whereas, it's a concern of mine to increase a homeowner that much money over a period of a year, because they're already struggling to make their bills.
But our
anyhow.
seniors who are renting are struggling right now.
It's, yeah. Yeah, and the rents are high. It's unaffordable. That's a whole different discussion. I agree.
I mean, I've heard from those folks.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
So,
Just two last quick points, Mr. Chair, if I could.
Yes.
One is that not to belabor the point, but I did want to ensure that we're not looking at the landlords myopically. Sure, you might be able to get agreement on passing along the true cost of water, but that's only one small component of the rent. And so you get agreement there, but you can't control 99% of everything else they're billing. Just want to get that point out there. I'm not saying don't try, but I just want to make sure that we're looking at this thing eyes wide open. And second, I would ask the chair respectfully if we could continue the hearing, keep it open until.
Absolutely. Before we stop, we got somebody who wants to speak on the public hearing.
Thank you,
Yes.
Mr. Chair. Greg Murphy, Canton resident. Listening to the discussion, and we're basically talking about what's equal versus what's equitable, and they're definitely distinct things, equity and equality. I mean, equal and equitable. What's fair is what it comes down to. And ultimately what we are talking about is how we shift who pays what, because the number we have to reach doesn't change. That's the reality. So any formula you apply is going to shift the cost from someone to someone else. And depending on where you sit in that formula is whether you think that's fair or not. The reality is it all comes down to the tiered structure. You talk about how much you pay for a gallon of water. Well, what you're paying for that gallon of water depends on how many other gallons you've already used. So if you cross that first threshold, that second threshold, you're in the higher tier. And that's where the issue is arising, is because of the tier structure. So my question to you, Mr. Chair, to the policy committee, did they consider possibly eliminating the tier structure? Again, that would still shift the burden from the ones that use less water to pay more than because they would now be paying a higher rate ultimately, but the ones paying the higher rates today would end up paying a lower rate. The end result with that is the apartment, structure would be equal now. Whether that's equitable, that's up for debate.
Would
but
you like to
ultimately be
respond to
equal.
that?
I will, and Mr. Trotter can correct me if I'm misstate this, but I believe we're required to have an inclining block rate structure in this state. I don't think we can do that single rate, but Mike, you can correct me.
No, again, we go back to our water withdrawal permit from the state, and that requires us to have an increasing lot rate.
I understand. Okay, thank you for that. Yeah, because I mean, to be honest with you, being on the sustainability committee, I'm all for water conservation, and that's what the rates encourage. So I wasn't trying to recommend this, but ultimately it comes down to who you're going to charge more and who gets the savings. So that's the decision you're making at some point.
And that would really hurt a small user if you compress those. 'Cause
Right.
Right now they're paying a lower rate because someone who's wasting water is using a high. If you compress those, that's going to go up. It's going to be the opposite of what you want.
Okay.
Part of the underlying policy that the board has had in for a long time is to try to keep that first low tier artificially low as a way to offer a discount to the low end user. But then the irony of all of that is the low end user is probably the older family And the younger family that is struggling, but they have 3 or 4 kids, well, they're not going to stay in that lower tier. So that's kind of the irony of what the policy
set up,
that's
yeah.
always trying to be. It is trying to be fair and equitable as much as we can. I think there's like 1,400 or 1,500 rental units in the town as opposed to 7,200 single-family residences.
Yeah, sometimes we refer to that first tier as a lifeline rate. 'Cause
Yes.
that is just for your essential cooking, cleaning, bathing, but it is not based on the number of people, right? That would be another dimension. Now we're going to count heads in the household and try to figure all that out. But he's right. And yeah, if you have a larger family, you may fall into the second tier, right? And then,
Very good. So we're going to continue this until the 28th. We don't have to close the hearing. We'll just continue it till the 28th. Thank you for all your work and your time. The committee, thank you. The advisory committee has done a lot of work, and thank you for your presentation.
Thank you for your time and patience.
Have a wonderful evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For all your work.
Anyone?
I believe we're doing a sustainable
That's, yes.
climate and action plan. Tom, are you up again?
How dare you?
Yes.
And Jen, are you guys going to do a little presentation? Or is both of you, or just Jen, or whatever?
Now's the time.
Shift over, Tom.
All right. If I had hats, I'd change it. Okay, well, thank you for the opportunity. Again, Tom Birmingham, and right now I'm wearing the chair of the Sustainability and Climate Action Plan Committee, and I'm joined here tonight by Jen Wexler, who's the vice chair. And we've been wanted to just take a few minutes to give you an update on the progress that we've been making on the implementation of the Climate Action Plan and Decarbonization Roadmap. We did not circulate any pre-slides or notes ahead of time, and thank you to Interim Town Administrator Chameleon for helping us get on the agenda. So there's a lot going on, and we thought it would be helpful to give you an update to keep you on abreast of what's going on with this particular committee. So what we wanted to just point out and update you on are 2 topics relative to the couple of different committees. I'm representing tonight the Sustainability and Climate Action Plan Committee primarily, but as you may know, I'm also the chair of the Energy Advisory Committee, and there's some overlap in what I'm going to present to you tonight on that. And there's also a third committee, the Sustainability Committee in Canton, and so those 3 committees is kind of combined of my comments this evening. So we're going to provide you with 2 things: status of the committee structure changes. As you may remember, we've been looking at possibly consolidating these committees and trying to figure out the roles and responsibilities and making sure that we're doing this as efficiently as we can. And as we move towards the implementation of the Climate Action Plan and the Decarbonization Roadmap, the current structure doesn't make sense anymore. So we also want to give you an update on the status of our work plan with Greener You, our energy consultant that we've hired to help us with the first phase of implementation of the Climate Action Plan. We're not seeking any approval of any recommendations tonight, but rather to set expectations on work that will be coming before the board over the next few months, particularly as we begin thinking about the longer term implementation after Greener You's contract ends this June. By way of background, for those of you that are familiar, the Climate Action Plan and Decarbonization Roadmap was approved by the Select Board in June 2025 and recommends several short-term key strategies and actions for implementation by focusing on high-impact issues that address Canton's largest sources of municipal generated greenhouse gas emissions And these high priority issues were establishing a new sustainability and climate action implementation committee to coordinate these activities, staffing a municipal energy and sustainability position, qualifying to become a climate leader community, and enhancing building efficiency and decarbonization while supporting implementation of Canton's decarbonization roadmap, and finally electrifying the transportation system. So those are the high priority issues that came out of the compliance climate action plan. In terms of the committee restructuring, there are currently 3 committees, as I described, and they're focused on several different issues. The Sustainability Committee itself is primarily focused on waste management, water conservation, and public education. The Sustainability and Climate Action Plan Committee was established to do the plan for the Climate Action Plan. That's now done. We're trying to transition into implementation. And then, as you may recall, the Electricity Choice Program, that committee is to help with the aggregation program that we just had the contract signed recently. So now that the Climate Action Plan is adopted, we're transitioning into this implementation phase. To that end, members of these committees have been meeting over the last several months to review our options and draft updated charters and structures that reflect the new phase of work that we're moving into. The goals of these changes are fairly simple: improve coordination across town departments, align with other town plans, such as the master plan and the capital planning process, supporting implementation of the Climate Action Plan and decarbonization roadmap. I think I've said that 3 or 4 times now. Okay. While the final language of these mission statements and charters is still being ironed out with the help of interim town administrator and town council, the basic direction we're heading in is two points: making minor updates to the Energy Advisory Committee charter to update the committee's name and more accurately reflect the current scope of the work of that committee. So what we hope to present to you is some very minor changes for your adoption, again, hopefully in the next month or so. And then the second point is to consolidate the 2 sustainability and climate related committees into one, and shift the focus again from planning to implementation. That's 5 times. You get where we're going?
Just one question on that. Are all the boards on the same page to combine?
Yes. To answer your question, Chair, we had a quorum for the Energy Advisory Committee and we had a quorum for the Sustainability and Climate Action Committee. They both voted in favor of doing that. The Sustainability Committee does not have a quorum today, but the members that were active and were at the meeting supported the decision. Okay.
Thank you.
It's my hope to share our final recommendations with you in the next month or so. In the meantime, my expectations are that these 3 committees continue to work as currently structured. So we'll just continue to run that as is. And I know on your agenda tonight is to approve committee members for the Climate and Sustainability and Climate Action Plan. So those members will continue with your approval. We are missing 1 member's name on that list, and we'll ask you to update.
Do you think Chris would have made it through this meeting?
We'll get back to that. Okay. Yep. Status of the Greener You work plan. They've been doing a lot of work. Good update for you there. They were hired to do the phase 1 implementation of the Climate Action Plan and decarbonization roadmap. They're focusing on 3 major things in that roadmap: building energy efficiency and electrification, the municipal side, and the municipal side of building decarbonization and electrification of the municipal transportation fleet. And these tasks were set forth in the RFP that was approved. Overall, the project's on schedule for completion by the contract end date of June of this year. And the following are a few high-level summary points of the work to date, if that's okay with you. The building energy efficiency and electrification work stream, Greener You has been instrumental in supporting the committee on the information campaign around the annual town meeting Article 33 and adoption of the specialized code. Just a quick update on that. We've been able to meet with 7 of the different town committees and boards to help on the public information side. We've held 1 public information meeting to date, 2 planned, April 30th at the Senior Center and May 3rd on Canton's Earth Day. And most recently, the majority of the Finance Committee voted in support of the article. Additional information has been posted on the town website, including an extensive list of frequently asked questions, which can be found on the town's website by searching the term specialized code warrant article 33 for those of you who are interested in learning more. The municipal building decarbonization, what I would argue is perhaps the heart of what the work that Greener U is doing. They've made substantial progress on Canton's municipal building analysis. Their team has done three things: collected energy and operational data on 10 high energy use municipal buildings. They've conducted multiple on-site building audits, and they're coordinated with both the town and the school district's facilities teams. The plan is to draft a municipal building decarbonization report, and that's expected at the end of this month. Then it will be reviewed by the town planner and the Sustainability Climate Action Plan Committee and finalized in May in parallel with the development of what is a proposed work plan going forward. That report will include a analysis of historic building use, evaluate electrification opportunities, identify potential efficiency improvements, and rank projects based on emissions reduction, energy savings, and costs. Following that report, Greener U will develop a municipal building decarbonization work plan, which will recommend projects, funding opportunities, and implementation timeline. That work will be particularly valuable for the capital planning discussions on a going forward basis because there will be some investment required. Greener U is compiling updates on the town's municipal building energy guidelines and standards, which will help ensure that future building projects are aligned with the climate action plan. The last major piece of work that I wanted to update you on is the municipal transportation. They have two deliverables: zero emissions vehicle first policy and the municipal electric vehicle transportation report. The zero emissions vehicle first policy has been drafted, and it's recently been shared with the town planner, who is working in hand with Greener U and I think you, Ms. Chameleon, to work through any questions and details on that. That will then come back to the Sustainability Climate Action Plan Committee for additional review and ultimate recommendation to the Select Board. If endorsed, the committee will submit its cover letter to the school committee and the Select Board. They both need to be involved because it involves both school district and municipal buildings. The goal is to complete the approval before the end of June, which supports the town's broader decarbonization roadmap. Regarding the electric vehicle transportation report, Greener U's engineer is currently reviewing the existing municipal fleet, evaluating opportunities to transition vehicles to electric, and assessing EV charging infrastructure needs. That report will identify and rank future potential municipal vehicle investments based on emissions reductions, energy savings, and life cycle costs. I will coordinate with the interim town administrator to be included on an upcoming Select Board agenda meeting, hopefully maybe in mid-May or late May, to review the report with you for your consideration. This would be the sixth and final criteria that Canton needs to meet to qualify for the Climate Leader Community Certification and apply for, if we're successful, we would apply for the $1.1 million in clean energy related grants. We're also working on funding and grant opportunities. Greener U is that's in their scope. So we're trying to align the recommended work with recommended funding, potential funding opportunities. That work is continuing. Looking ahead, finally, I wanted to briefly mention what comes after Greener U's contract in June. What are we planning for after they leave? Greener U's engagement was designed to help develop the key policies, analyze our assets, and then build an implementation roadmap. So what do we do after that? Our main focus is to help implement this climate action plan will require staffing. A municipal energy and sustainability position is what we currently think is on the horizon. While it's been an honor to serve as Canton's de facto energy and sustainability manager, my family obligations are increasing and I will no longer be able to either serve on the committee or devote a level of time required for this effort to be successful. I want to go through a transition period and try to find someone to support the ongoing work that's necessary to continue this and be successful. So we're exploring our options, different ways to staff this, full-time, part-time, shared. We don't know yet. We're still working through those details, and we plan on, with interim town administrators' help, coming up with a proposal that we think would be helpful for you to consider. And we expect to have further discussions with Greener U on that. The goal is to bring forward a thoughtful staffing proposal to your attention so the town can maintain momentum on this climate action plan. In closing, we appreciate the select board's continued support. Look forward to bringing more detailed updates soon, and we appreciate your time and welcome any questions.
Thank you, Tom. Jennifer, you want to add anything?
Well, I think what I'd like to add is, first of all, I'd just like to really appreciate Tom Birmingham for the role that he has played, as he mentioned, as the de facto energy manager for the town. And we've made tremendous progress because of your contributions. And the committee has worked really hard to get us where we are today. And we are really poised to move forward with implementation. And Tom has really, identified where we're at and what we need to do. And it is my hope that we continue to work together to move this work forward in the ways that Tom described. And, we really have this great opportunity before us to become a climate leader community. And I think that if we continue working together the way that we have, we can accomplish that. And I just really thank you for everything that you've contributed. And I think everyone feels the same way in this room.
Thank you, Tom. Any questions, comments from the board?
Anyone? Anyone?
I also, you go first, then I'll do.
Yes, and I would also thank both of you for really some heavy lifting that you've done with this project, and it's, all to the good of this town. If we hire a energy and sustainability manager, I assume a big chunk of their work would be just applying for grants. Is that correct? So
yes.
It's anticipated that that would very likely bring more in than we're paying out on the salary.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're hopeful that the amount of savings, energy savings, and the amount of additional grants and incentives that they can find will outweigh the cost to hire them. They'll pay for themselves, in other words. What we plan on presenting to you is a job description that will break down roles and responsibilities for this position. Grant funding incentives is going to be a big part of that.
I'll just add, we're also hoping to define what the adder can contribute and what grant funding can contribute to that position, so that we're in the process of figuring that out. And if you're wondering what I mean by the adder, it's the part of the energy aggregation program, Canton Electricity Choice, that has been identified to move this forward, this position forward.
Got it. Thank you.
Well, I was going to sing, but I don't know how, for he's a jolly good fellow. And I'm just give him a round of applause for the work he's done.
It's our friend.
I do know how to sing, but I'll save that for another meeting. But no, I mean, it's just amazing work that you've done using all of your skills and your valuable time. And it's, just speaks to the importance and the urgency of the moment. And it also speaks to a caring resident who wants to use their skills and their time to make the community better. So I hope that your energy multiplies in other residents who will step up to do these things and in many ways. So wonderful, wonderful work, both of you.
Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Mike?
Tom, I got to know you when we were first doing the power choice. You've been so valuable for this town, and I'm sorry to see you go, but I certainly understand. But there's a lot of momentum, and hopefully that keeps going.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for everything you do, both of you. Keep it up.
Okay.
Have a wonderful evening.
You'll be hearing from us soon.
It's over. Nothing is over. Nothing.
You just don't turn it off.
Okay.
Thank you. Life's bagel.
Where are we?
I know, I had to find my place. I move that the board approve the common victualler license for Life's a Bagel, 29 Washington Street.
Second.
Motion made second. Any discussion?
I have one thing to discuss. I just want people to know that a victualler is a business where food is prepared or served. I did not know this. I had to look it up. So people listening, I think it's important that people know what these
Okay.
things are.
Anyone?
That's all.
Good.
Anyone?
Any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Chair as well, 5-0.
Excellent. I move that the board reappoint the members of the boards and committees which are due to expire on April 30th, 2026, as presented on the attached list.
Motion made,
Anyone? Anyone?
Seconded.
second.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes.
Sue?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have identified one member of one of these committees who I do feel has served this town well for a large number of years, but I think there's an opportunity for someone else to step in. And that achieves our goal of achieving a little more diversity on the boards and committees, which is as clearly stated in our bylaws. That's one of our objectives. So I don't know if we want to get into specifics at this point, or we want to kind of.
Well, if you don't want to appoint somebody to the board, you'd have to be specific
Yep.
on the
You got it.
particular board, or we're going to have to go through every one of them separately. So I
Okay.
would prefer not to do that.
I hear you.
Can I-
I'm with you.
In the meantime, can I bring up a discussion item? Or are we finishing that one?
Well,
Okay.
is it on the same with the committees?
Mhm.
All right, well, we have one issue here with,
Let's do this.
Okay.
so let's go with this one first.
Fair enough.
Please.
I am proposing that we not reappoint Greg Pando to the Zoning Board of Appeals. I believe his tenure is been about 39 years now. I am aware that someone else has applied for a seat on that board. And I think that while I am truly grateful for Mr. Pando's work, I think it would be a better move to allow another member of a younger generation to join that board.
Okay, I'm not speaking on it first, if you don't mind.
Okay.
I am not aware of anybody applying for any board other than I received an email on an ADA board, which was a couple of weeks ago. So I am not aware of anybody else that has applied for the position of zoning. And normally, in my time of being on boards, usually the board is vacated or an absence, or they leave or resign, and then we go out and look for it. On these reappointments, we've never had, not that on my part on the board, and on serving on the boards, that we haven't had anybody not appointed because of his term. Speaking on my term and my work on the zoning board, I worked with Mr. Paul Carroll and Mr. Greg Pando, and Mr. Carroll served, I don't know, 40-something years and he was chair most of them. Mr. Pando is current chair and has vast knowledge of zoning bylaws. And I just don't see it appropriate at this time to not reappoint him, whereas that the vacancy hasn't been, I haven't seen, has there been an application?
So we've had an interested party that came in, asked for an application, but we did not receive the application back.
So there's no, once again, there's no vacancy. Well, there will be if we decide not to reappoint him to the board, but I think that wouldn't be in the best interest of Canton at this time, where we're, in the middle of business, we're in the middle of middle school, there's a lot of zoning and a lot of knowledge that he has that I think is very important to have with these projects that are coming down the pike. But that's just my opinion. And whereas there's no actual candidate, I don't think we should be stopping an appointment. That's just my basic comments. So anybody else want to comment on that?
So I agree with you, Mr. Chair, that we don't have another applicant, that this is a renewal. These individuals on this list have all expressed an interest in continuing to serve. I agree with you, Mr. Pando's experience with what's going on in the town is a tremendous asset. So I would be in favor of reappointing.
I just have another comment. So I just received, the agenda and the committee potential appointments, which is pretty hefty. There's a lot of people who are, kind of re-upping. So I just wanted to clarify, and maybe you can, Jen, clarify this for me. So if a person gets on one of these committees, they have the option to renew their commitment, there is no vacancy unless they step off.
So it's part of the administrative code that annually the board, through its staff, reaches out to board and committee members whose terms are expiring and basically ask them if they're interested in being reappointed.
Yep.
So the committee members would respond with a positive, yes, they want to be, and that's the list that you have in front of you.
Yep.
So it is the will of the board whether or not they choose to reappoint these people. But
Right.
historically and culturally, yes, these lists of people who have basically responded yes, that they're interested in being reappointed are reappointed.
Right.
Yeah.
And historically, has the board been notified if other people have put their hat in the ring for certain positions, or are they only notified if there's a vacancy?
So yeah, I talked to my staff member this afternoon, and she does email all of the applications to the board. It's in the board, select board email when somebody applies to be on a board or community member.
Okay, yeah, I just got access to it
Yeah,
today,
exactly. So
that's
you wouldn't
why
have
I'm
had the
asking.
opportunity to see that
Yes,
yet.
yeah, so that's why I'm asking. And then I guess my other question is, and I know I sent you an email like this morning, 8 a.m. I went, honestly, I'm again, like this is all timing. Timing is everything. To see if there was an opportunity to see how long each of these individuals have served on these boards and committees. And of course, that information can't be attained in a less than an 8-hour period. But I'm wondering if we table this decision to the next meeting, is that something that we can have so that we have an idea of who served like at certain periods of time? Because triggering those vacancies might be an invitation to other community members to participate. And I think that that invitation is a welcome signal to get people like the future Tom Birmingham involved in one of these committees. So I just wanted to ask administratively and on this board, like, is it possible to get that information and vote on this on these renewals in 2 weeks' time?
So through you, Mr. Chair, the terms expire on April 30th, so it's kind of close.
Yep.
However, what we could do is we can put our best effort forward. We can try our best to make sure that all these have been identified and how long they've served on these particular committees. But I'd also offer that we could let you know how many vacancies are also on these committees.
Yes.
Because a lot of the committees do have vacancies. It's actually a small amount of committees that are fully staffed.
No, yeah, and I
Yeah.
understand that because
Yeah.
these are volunteer. That's
Right.
obviously a lot of work, and historically, there's not a lot of volunteerism. I'm just wondering. So, I mean, step 2 in this process is to probably like put out, RFPs, like requests for proposals, like so that the community knows that these vacancies.
That's what we do. So after this meeting,
Okay.
right, when all of the reappointments have come together, we put together a list of the vacancies,
Okay.
and then we do advertise them in the newspaper, online. Yep, we try to push that out. That's an annual.
Okay, awesome.
And then also, if
Well,
if
well,
residents are
well.
interested, if you go to the website,
How
and
the
committee that you might be
turntables-
interested in, we'll have a list of the members, a list of the vacancies, the mission statement, the potential requirements that they're looking for that for the volunteers, so that people can have a better understanding of what the committee does, what might be a best fit for them to serve on that as well.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think that would be, especially for me, useful knowledge to have, and in moving forward with these reappointments, because I think that probably it's not the intention to have someone to have any individual in any committee kind of hold their position so that the vacancy never comes, it doesn't come up, to have the opportunity for more individuals to get involved. And I just think if we have that in front of us, we'll be able to make a more informed decision. I would.
Well, one of the concerns I have, because we're talking about a lot of committees, and we're nailing down to one, which is the zoning board, which is one of the most probably difficult boards to be on as to knowledge of the zoning bylaw. In serving on it, when you start out as an alternate, you don't start in as a chairman because you don't have the experience or the knowledge of the actual bylaw. I served on it for 8 years. I actually became a full member. But after serving for 8 years, was I comfortable being chair? I don't think I would have been. I think it takes some serious time to learn that bylaw and know that bylaw. I know that it was Mr. Carroll, Mr. Fitzgerald, Mr. Pando, all served many, many years on it. But if the succession was just that, it was Mr. Fitzgerald, Mr. Carroll, Mr. Pando, then usually the next guy, kind of like a vice chair or whatever, or the next longevity person would move up, because the experience needed to actually not just run the meeting, but you're also writing up the decisions, making sure they qualify, meeting with the building department. There's a lot of stuff to do to get that done. And I'm not just uncomfortable, just let's eliminate the chairman of the zoning board at this time. It could put us in a tailspin on some of the stuff we're doing.
How dare you?
Multiple large projects. Middle school is one of them that's coming on board. And I want to have somebody, and we just had meetings on this, on the middle school, Mike's on the committee, where Greg brought up an infrastructure problem with the roads. The actual roads going down there that weren't really part of the project. And he was instrumental in actually bringing the school and the building authority together to actually get a plan for Pecunit Street. Well, that takes some time and talent to get all that stuff and put it in Mr. McCarthy too, in the planning board, to get them in a meeting and have a discussion on the problems of the project. Like I said, so I don't think now is the time to be removing the chair of that committee at all. That's just I don't see it as a benefit to the community in any which way at this time. So, but I'm going to take your comments, whatever. I don't see postponing this till the 28th to get the other committees, because they're going to come out anyhow. And if you look at the list, there's people been on these lists for a long time. I was one of these people on the list for a long time. George Camone was another person on the list. It's just that I think experience means something. And I think in order to replace somebody, we should actually have a plan to put that into place, to have somebody that's capable of taking the reins of the place, not just putting anybody in there, you're going to be the new zoning board. Because you don't even know what the feel of the zoning board is. And a lot of times when things happen on a committee, right, when it happens, it's usually the committee that has well, what do you want to do? If we have a descending member or what have you, the committee usually brings it up and say, hey, we got a problem with this member. But I don't see that as a
If I may,
problem.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
Two things. Mr. Corey and Mr. Black, it seems to me, both have pretty long tenure on that board, so it's
Mr.
not
Black,
like-
2 years.
Okay.
Mr. Corey is I think he's on his 6th year, yeah. And he's a zoning lawyer, a lot too. So.
My other comment would be what's, big part of what's driving this. I'm not against seniority per se, but I've had numerous complaints from citizens about how they were treated by that board. And I've watched meetings and I've seen some pretty unprofessional and rude behavior. So this is why we're here and having this conversation right now. And lastly, I would say,
Well, I don't think under the administrative code, we cannot, it can't be political. It
I
just
don't
can't
see
be
that as political.
It's just,
I
well,
see that as a conduct issue.
okay, well,
And that's part of our duty as,
Yep.
as the select board is to, as
all
Jen
right, I
said.
get it.
And, in the end, no one lasts forever, so we have to
Absolutely.
have turnover on these boards.
Mhm.
That's just the nature of the beast. And that's all I'll say.
Okay, will of the board. Mike?
So I'm in favor of
Anyone?
reappointing him.
Anyone?
If there's issues with conduct of that board, then I think it falls on the select board to have that conversation with them. And we haven't done that. My guess is this is the first time he's hearing that.
Yeah. Okay, Jill?
Julie.
Julie.
Julie?
That's
Sorry.
okay.
My fault. Thank you.
I honestly, I don't think I have enough, I haven't lived with this information enough to,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean,
That's fair.
and I just don't have that
Good.
history, but I do agree with the spirit of inviting more people to the table. And of course, if, there are any conduct issues in any committee member, any select board member, I think that those are very important. And I also just appreciate the conversation. I think that these are the kind of conversations that are uncomfortable and that people want to hear, like the select board talk about, because I think that a lot of the perception, again, it's my first time being a select board member, so I've been on the other side a long time. And the perception is that these conversations aren't happening here for the public to witness. And so I have to hand it to you, Sue, to bring this up as a concern right now, because I mean, in any business, you would look at a succession plan, you would look at a mentorship program, and we are running a business. And so, 39 years is a long time, and we do need to make sure we cycle in, and like you said, Mr. McCourt, a very important, influential board at a pivotal time. So I think that we need to start thinking in these terms, because we need to have more people making these positions available.
Trish?
Yeah, so 3 things. 1, you had a whole bunch of good points. That was great. 2, I had 2 people come forward with complaints against Mr. Pando, who, by the way, 39 years is awesome. He's done a lot, and I just had a chat with him and developments in Canton that he's been part of. But that being said, I kind of think it'd be nice to wait the 2 weeks. I know we're going in at the skin of our teeth here, but also then having the person who expressed interest send the thing in, and whether or not we appoint him this time, at least he's done it. So it's maybe a moot point tonight, but maybe it won't be in 2 weeks. So I'm in favor of holding off for 2 weeks, your first suggestion. And then either we have it and we can discuss it, or we don't, and then we just move forward and approve everyone on this list.
I'm good with that. Yeah.
Okay, so you could do a motion to postpone the appointments till April 28th.
All right, I move that we continue the discussion of reappointments at our next select board meeting.
And I second that.
Motion made in second. I'm not, any discussion on this stuff first. I'm not in favor of postponing it. I think this should be moved on. Plus, there's other committees that, you could look at, and in the committee members, I think any committee, the members of the committee should be talked to and brought up to date, and because succession is a You just don't need a mass exodus either. I'm not saying it's going to happen. You just don't want to have a big void in a second. I just don't want to see that happen. But the will of the board, if they want to postpone it, we have a second. Mike, you want to comment?
So through you, Mr. Chair, I would be opposed to postponing this because if we vote on this on the 28th, the terms expire on the 30th. We don't have enough information to vet any potential new candidate. I think that if there's an issue with how the zoning board is treating the residents, then it falls on us to address the zoning board and try to correct that. But I think the timing is going to be too tight because what if this application is not qualified? Or we don't agree that this is the right person to join this board. So I'm not in favor of postponing it.
Okay, and Julie?
Well, I just want to clarify, the postponement was my suggestion based on not what Sue was talking about the individual, but based on the fact that I wanted to see the scope of the years of service for all of these members and have an opportunity as a new select board member to take a look at those reappointments.
Okay. Okay, so motion is made in seconds to postpone the appointments of the board to the 28th meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Opposed.
No, so it's 3 ayes and 2 noes. Ayes have it, we postpone it to the 28th. Thank you.
Okay.
Next.
How dare you?
Sorry, Ms. Harrington. Thank you. We'll get it right. You guys move seats. Though.
I know, it's
It's
confusing.
not fair.
It's over. Nothing is over. I move that the board approve the update to the town engineer job description.
Second.
Motion made in second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
5-0.
All right, I move that the board appoint a member to the Commission on Disabilities, Elizabeth Gray.
Second.
Motion made in second. Any discussion?
That was an awesome application.
Huh?
Yes, it was.
That's what I wanted to say. It was a great application, a new resident putting herself out there in an important cause. So I just want to publicly say that I loved reading that and I'm excited.
Perfect. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair as well, 5-0.
I move that the board approve the appointment of the Young Adult Services Librarian, Victoria Tori Crossman.
Second.
Motion made in second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
5-0. Chair as well. Yep.
Okay. Jody, I believe you're up at long last. Your patience is admirable.
Jody, thank you for hanging in there.
I lost my audience. All right. All right, thank you very much. I'm Jody Middleton. I'm the HR director. I won't take up a lot of time at all, but it's our annual renewal for all of our insurance policies. We're on a fiscal year, so July through June 30th. But we start our open enrollment in May. So we'd like to communicate everything out before then. So we are asking, I put in your package, to review the insurance premiums for the active employees and the retirees. This includes the town and the schools. So just so they're on all one health and dental plan. We had a 5-year premium freeze, which was in place prior to we had a modest increase last fiscal year 26. But right now I'm gonna ask that we continue on that trend to have a modest increase. This will just be aligned with future market trends. We've been kind of holding steady, but if we do not slowly increase, then I would be up here asking for significant increases. So the proposal that I'm asking for fiscal year 27 is a 3% increase to our health insurance for the HMO and our PPO. And then for our retirees, they are on a supplemental plan, medics if they're eligible for Medicare. So I'm asking for, it's under $20 a month increase, $19.63. I think that's important because it equates to a 20% increase, but I want to kind of put it in perspective that I didn't want to lead with 20%, but it's monthly, it's a $19.63 increase. Ken has done very well with maintaining our insurance premiums. Randy is a savant with numbers and has kept kind of everything in check. So if you're like on the group insurance commission, they're looking at an average of a 10% increase, and neighboring communities are also looking in double-digit increases for the second year in a row. So we're in a good position. I also want to say that this is the 7th year in a row that we are proposing no plan changes to our insurances. That is the medical. In the dental, we switched over to a better plan last year, which was very well received. I'm asking for no increase in the dental premiums or in the basic life insurance program. That's just, I can go on. I can talk all night. I got an audience now.
That's good. Any questions from the board?
No.
No questions from the board. Are you all set? Jody, thanks for all the work you're doing. I appreciate it. We all do.
So if you approve, though, just let you know the next step, we will be communicating out to, we have the mailing for the retirees, and we'll be holding our annual health fair May 7th for active staff. We also started doing retiree day. So any retirees who are still up and listening, that's going to be May 13th. It's going to be in this room. They can come, they can do meet and greet, look at their beneficiaries. And I'm also going to do a presentation about their retiree benefits and what to do for surviving spouses and everything, especially for people who have been long-term retirees. They may kind of forgot and are aging and need to kind of plan and get their affairs in order.
Thank you. Ms. Harrington.
I move that the board approve the wrong one. I move that the board approve the insurance premium rates for fiscal year 27.
Second.
Motion made second. Any discussion? Seeing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Chair as well, 5-0.
Thank you. I really
Thank you very much.
Have a
Thank
good
you,
night.
Jody.
Thank you, Jody.
I move that the board accept and authorize the use of the gift in accordance with the terms thereof under Mass General Law 44, subsection 53A, the following donations to the Department of Elder and Human Services. $150 from Dorothy Tilley, $100 from Marjorie Weiner, and the following donations in memory of Ralph Staples. $1,000 from Susan Staples, $50 from Rich Hegarty, $50 from Carol Munson, and $50 from Dan and Shirley Kelly.
Oh, sorry, second. I didn't even, okay.
Motion made in second. Any discussion?
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Chair as well, 5-0.
I move that the board approve the request for a carnival to be held at Trinity Episcopal Church, 1 Blue Hill River Road on Friday, May 22nd, 2026, 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. Saturday, May 23rd, 2026, 1 p.m. to 10 p.m. Sunday, May 24th, 2026, 1 p.m. to 10 p.m. Monday, May 25th, 26, 1 p.m. to 9 p.m. Friday, May 29th, 2026, 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. Saturday, May 30th, 2026, 1 p.m. to 10 p.m. Sunday, May 31st, 2026, 1 p.m. to 9 p.m. Contingent upon current certificate of insurance and approval of the building commissioner, police chief, fire chief, and police detail during the hours of operation.
Second.
Motion made second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Chair as well, 5-0.
I move that the board approve the cemetery commitments in the amount of $4,325.
Second.
Motion made in second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Chair as well, 5-0.
The vendor warrant total for the week of 4/2/26, $1,496,776.56. The payroll warrant for the week of 4/2/26, $1,992,623.09. The vendor warrant total for the week of 4/9/26, $975,582.39. I move that the board approve the cemetery lots and perpetual care deeds.
Second.
Motion made second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
As well, 5-0.
Anyone? Anyone?
Town administrator update.
Announcements.
And yes, I have a few, just a few. So I just wanted to update the board on the town administrator search. So our HR director is in the process of identifying some consultants and asking for proposals from them. And her plan is that she will bring her final recommendation to the board at a later date for their approval, for your approval, at a future meeting. The library will be closing from Monday, April 27th to Wednesday, April 29th due to a library software migration. As part of the process, the library catalog and all OCLN services will be offline during that time. And then the library will reopen on Thursday, the 30th with the brand new system. There are 2 surveys that residents are being encouraged to complete and submit. One of them is a community health assessment survey, which is aimed at gathering information in order to improve the health of the community. And the second survey is the open space and recreation plan survey, aimed at gathering information to help with the development of an action plan for acquiring and improving open space land. And both of those surveys can be found on the homepage of the town's website under latest news.
Anyone?
And then I have
Anyone?
2 DPW updates. They're holding annual Household Hazardous Waste Day. It's on Saturday, May 2nd from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. And that will be at the DPW garage located at 150 Bolivar Street. It is for Canton residents only, and proof of residency will be required. For more information, residents can check the Canton website, and it's on the homepage under the latest news. And then also last, the DPW will be conducting some road improvements. There'll be some milling and paving, and it's going to begin the week of April 27th, weather permitting, on the following roads. It's East Road, Kingsbury Road, Ridge Hill Road, Talbot Road, Tilden Road, and Wentworth Road. But residents will have access to their driveways during this construction. And that's all I got.
Thank you. Next, Sue.
Any announcements?
Anybody else have any announcements? Nope, we're all good.
All right, the select board will hold the next meeting on Tuesday, April 28th, 2026, 7 p.m. at the Sala Meeting Room, Memorial Hall, 801 Washington Street. I
Thank you.
move that we adjourn at 9:14.
It's
Motion
over.
second.
Nothing
Any
is
discussion?
over.
Seeing none, all in favor?
Nothing. You just don't turn it off.
Aye.
Aye.
5-0. Good night, everybody. Have a wonderful evening.
What's left of it?
How dare you? How dare you? You have stolen my dreams and my childhood with your empty words, and yet I'm one of the lucky ones.
It's the Chronicle signing off with a flame, dropping names, spitting facts, shaking up the game. It's fire, it's grit, it's no holds barred. A mic in one hand, the town on guard. The truth hits harder than a Fairview brawl, and the Chronicle's here to expose it all. From cover-ups to donut runs, we light up the night like Canton Suns. Next episode, yeah, we'll be back with more names, more flames, and a truth to say.
URL for that is